The push to use public dollars to help parents pay for private school draws people from all over Texas to a marathon hearing with House lawmakers.
That's why we have committee hearings.
Yes.
At
Have you considered
3 in the morning.
Texans waiting into the early morning hours to have their say. We dig into the hearing and what comes next.
We're growing very rapidly as a state. Easy water is gone.
Finding solutions to keep water flowing in Texas. Why some Texas leaders are looking to get water from the Gulf to make sure the state has enough to meet future needs.
We just don't have enough water to take care of what we normally farm.
Water shortages hit Texas farmers, and the impact could trickle down to your wallet. Now Texas lawmakers are putting pressure on Mexico with billions of dollars on the line.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Dylan McKim. A big moment in the battle over whether to allow parents to use public funds to pay for private schools. A Texas House committee held a hearing on the bill to establish an education savings account program on Tuesday. Well, Tuesday and Wednesday to be exact, because more than 300 people signed up to speak and testimony wrapped up nearly 22 hours after the hearing started. It gave supporters and opponents of the legislation a chance to make their voices heard. Supporters of House Bill 3 called a way to give parents school choice.
I think that this bill will be a godsend for many of those parents who felt stranded and locked in because of their social economic status or the neighborhood that they lived in.
HB 3 would provide families close to $11,000 per student. The program has limited funding. Disabled children and those from lower income families get priority. But any family can apply, regardless of their income. That remains a sticking point for some lawmakers.
To prioritize and give access to low-income kids, but in the same breath you said we can't stop millionaires and billionaires from participating. So if this is for low-income kids, why don't we do that? Why don't we cap the income to make sure that it's not wealthier families who take advantage of this like in other states?
Inference that simply because you're not wealthy, that you can't access these programs, or you're not up, that somehow lower income families won't do this is just not true.
While this bill has stalled in the House before, it looks to have the votes now, with over half the House listed as an author. However, some Democrats say their heart isn't really in it.
I've never had so many colleagues, including Republican colleagues, including some who are signed on this bill, privately tell me they hate this issue because it is not about education, it's about politics.
Republicans say it's about helping families.
Will parents have more or less choices if this bill passes? More options for their kids or less options?
More options.
Will it be perfect? No.
That was just the beginning of the hearing, and as we mentioned, it took 22 hours to get through all of the invited and public testimony. And our Capitol correspondent Adam Schwager, he had the fun assignment to actually sit down and watch this. He watched a good portion of this hearing. Talk to us. We knew this was going to take a long time. We didn't really necessarily think it was going to be 22 hours worth, but what really contributed to this being so long?
Right, we were talking in the newsroom beforehand, hey, this might go past midnight is what we were going. It went 6.5 hours past midnight, so I got there that Tuesday at 8 a.m., did my story. By the time I got home at around 7, I popped open the stream again, and they were saying, okay, we're going into witness testimony right now. We have 335 people signed up. There was 3 overflow rooms filled with people waiting to testify, and a lot of them did take that opportunity, as we saw 6:30 in the morning, and at the end of you could see legislators stretching their legs, just trying to get some feeling back after having to do that for so long.
Yeah, people waited a long time to testify. They drove in from different cities in Texas just to come and plead their case or plead their opinion. And at the end of the day, no action was taken. This bill, House Bill 3, was left pending in the committee, which means it's not going to the House floor for a vote. What was the reason for that?
Yeah, we can't necessarily read into the legislators' minds. They didn't give any specific reasons, but it's not necessarily atypical, especially when you take 22.5 hours to get through something like that. But one of the things is they heard a lot of different testimony, some coming from both sides of the aisle, but some pointing out very specific issues with the bill that I think even some of the legislators who are in favor of HB 3 had some issues with. Here's one testimony of a possible legal challenge that was brought up.
If a parent disagrees with an administrative decision made by the comptroller or the EOA selected by the comptroller, they have to appeal that decision to the comptroller. They decide to file suit against the state. The bill does not permit the recovery of attorney's fees against the state, regardless of the outcome of this case.
So the author of the bill, Representative Buckley, he said that wasn't his intention. He doesn't want it to be that it's cost prohibitive for families if they end up getting in a dispute with the state over this to be able to have that legal challenge. And one thing that is interesting to note, next week's meeting has already been announced, and as of right now, HB 3 is not on that docket. Once again, it could come up anytime the rest of this session, which still has months to go, but it's something that is worth noting at this point.
Yeah, it has a lot of attention, right? How many people signed up to speak, and you mentioned a majority of the people who registered to provide their testimony were in opposition to House Bill 3, but certainly in these 22 hours, we heard some supporters come out to speak in favor of this bill. Was there anything that stuck out to you in the support talk?
Yeah, there was a young woman. She got up there at around 12:30 in the morning. She's from the Rio Grande Valley, and she said when she was in high school, her teacher went up, wrote a bunch of statistics on the whiteboard, saying that less than 10% of people in the Rio Grande Valley were college ready based on ACT and SAT scores. And when she brought that home to her mother, they thought, okay, let's look at some areas. Maybe we should go and look at some private schools to help you succeed and beat those statistics. But when they started looking around, this is what she found.
My quality education didn't make the budget. In the RGV, 90% of us are Hispanic, and so many of us are first-generation college and high school graduates like myself. Our abuelos, our parents, make numerous sacrifices to give us the American dream, yet so often the public school system fails to meet us there.
And that is powerful stuff from someone who could be helped by a bill like HB 3, although opponents of HB 3 would likely, they'd combat and say, what are the chances that she would have gotten into those private schools anyway, given her circumstances to be able to get it? As we've heard a lot from the some of the opponents of this, they say it's the private school's choice, not school choice.
Yeah, a huge debate going on right now in not just our state capital, but all around the state right now. And a lot to follow. You're going to continue on top of that. Adam, thank you so much for your insight.
Thank you for having me.
Texas schools could soon get more money for school safety. Wednesday afternoon, the state Senate approved Senate Bill 260. It doubles the amount public schools receive from the state per campus to pay for safety and security, and nearly triples the amount they receive per student.
Senate Bill 260 reaffirms our commitment to making schools safer for our students and educators by providing additional financial resources so that districts can pursue increased safety measures.
The bill passed with unanimous support in the Senate. It now heads to the Texas House.
We always try to bring people up, like myself and a lot of cavalry of other men and women, to make them better so that they can serve their communities.
A rare honor at the state capitol, lawmakers and colleagues pay tribute to a Texan who devoted his life to public service. There's work at the Capitol to help Texas find new supplies of water, how Texas voters could help create a dedicated stream of revenue to make it happen.